Chancellor Brandon Lewis is with us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Lewis. Thank you for joining us on the programme. The U-turn yesterday, high rate of tax. On the face of it, it does appear that it was there to appease backbenchers like Michael Gove. You wouldn't have got it through the Commons if there'd been a vote on it. What's the point in having convictions if you cave on them at the earliest opportunity?
Well, we also regularly have a situation where people will criticise politicians for not listening, and I think what you've seen is the Prime Minister and the Chancellor listening to what they heard, not just from colleagues, but more widely as well, recognising the issue and the challenges with the 45p decision, and therefore saying, look, we've got a big package here, a package about growth, a package helping the most vulnerable in society. That's what we want to focus on. This has become a distraction. We've heard, we've listened, we get it, and that's why they've removed it. And I think, actually, look, you know, as politicians, listening to people is what we're expected to do, and I think it's right that we've done that.
OK, so there could be more mini-budget U-turns then?
Well, I think the rest of the budget, and the whole point is we've got 95% of the budget is going forward that Kwasi Kwarteng outlined. It's about growth. It's about helping the most vulnerable in society. It's arguably the biggest package to support people on energy that we're seeing pretty much in the Western world and certainly across Europe. And we want to focus on that. And I think it's right that that's what we do.
So is that ruling out U-turns or not?
Well, look, as I say, in government, you're always looking at what you can do better, what you can deliver better for people in the future. But I think we've got a package that is a strong package. It's a package that says to the world that the UK is open for business. So I think we will deliver the rest of that package as it is. It says, as I say, to the world that we're open for business, that the UK is a place to invest, that it's competitive globally at a tax level that encourages business, who are domestic businesses, to grow and employ more people, and international businesses to come here and join the UK economy and grow their business here as well. That's good because it doesn't just employ more people, it means more tax to improve public services further in the future.
OK, so you say getting through the rest of the 95% of the package as it is. In an interview this morning, 6 times the Prime Minister apparently has refused to rule out further U-turns. Was her determination to get this through?
Well, I think she has got determination to get this through. Look, what we've seen with the Prime Minister already is somebody who she outlined during the leadership campaign, the core principles she stands for. That's what we're delivering. It's what we're still focused on delivering, which is a lower tax, high growth economy, moving our country forward to be able to create the jobs and higher wages for people in the future, and to see growth go back to a real growth level that we all recognise as growth, trying to get to that 2.5%. We've had a very, very long time of stability that's meant lack of growth, and that is not good for the economy. We need to do something different. What the Chancellor and the Prime Minister set out is a different pathway. I think it's a pathway that will deliver the growth we want to see. That is good for the whole country. It means everybody in this country is going to have the ability to earn more money. They're going to have a tax cut for around 30 million people in the period ahead as a result of the announcements we made. That also means that there is more money through the tax that we get when people spend money, when people earn money, when businesses invest, when businesses grow. All of that goes in to help fund our brilliant public services.
Yeah, you're saying get through this economic plan as it is. The Prime Minister is ruling 6 times not ruling out a further U-turn. Is she talking to her cabinet?
Oh, well, look, I talk to the Prime Minister regularly, actually, and obviously we had a cabinet conversation just a couple of days ago. So, yeah, she does talk to the cabinet. And what's really good about the Prime Minister, I have to say, in my experience in the early weeks of being in this job, is that she trusts her Secretaries of State to get on and run their departments. The Chancellor trusts us to get on and run our budget. That's how we can get things done. It's how in the Department of Justice we've already been able to expand our tagging programme, as we announced just a few days ago. We're looking at what more we can do to support vulnerable people, particularly women who are involved in rape and sexual offences cases going through the courts, getting our court backlog down and trying to make sure we've got a package there that can end the strike that we're seeing with criminal barristers to get justice to people more quickly. I can do that because the Prime Minister's put the trust in me as a Secretary of State to deliver it.
Yeah, but you didn't know, as did the rest of the Cabinet, about the slashing of 45p down to 40p until it was actually announced. The Prime Minister told us that herself last week. When did you know about the U-turn in this top rate of tax?
Well, look, 2 things, Kate. First of all, decisions that are made and announcements that are made as part of the budget are often, and generally are, I have to say my experience being in Cabinet for a few years now, are kept to the Chancellor because they're not only market sensitive, but they should be announced to Parliament first. So there's market sensitivity around some of these things. So actually I think that's quite a normal and common process. I got a phone call very early on Monday morning about the change to remove the 45%. As I say, I think where something like that's become a distraction from a phenomenally positive and a big package to help people across the country, I think I can absolutely see why the Chancellor and the PM have done it, and I support them in looking at what we are doing to deliver for people across the country.
OK, it's not just Grant Shapps, it's not just Michael Gove that are scratching their claws. Nadine Dorries, who used to be the Culture Secretary, she's also been tweeting saying widespread dismay at the fact that 3 years of work has effectively been put on hold. No one asked for this. She thinks that there should be a new mandate for this government, which would, in other words, mean an election. Do you think that's a good idea?
Look, no, I think the public we've had a lot of general elections in a very short period of time, and I think we've got a couple of years to the next general election. I think the public want to see us, particularly at a difficult time. We're going to, let's be frank, we are going to go into a very difficult winter for people. That's why we've put this substantial package to protect people from even further challenges with energy prices, particularly, in place. I think people want to see us get on and deliver on that job. That's how we ensure that at the next general election we can win. I think we can win, I have to say. And I remember general elections in the past, people telling us we were going to win with massive majorities in 2017. And that didn't happen. I remember being told in 2015 we were going to lose, and obviously we won that election. So the polls are a snapshot in time. We as colleagues have to be focused on what we're doing to deliver for people. And I have to say I'm at conference. I was back in London yesterday morning for the opening of the legal year, but on Saturday, Sunday and yesterday evening when I was here with the members, I've seen a really positive sort of atmosphere around conference of people wanting to get on with this and deliver for people.
OK, the Prime Minister writing in the Telegraph this morning saying, I want to bring the public with me. I want to win hearts and minds because I really believe my plan is the right one for the country. Less than 2 weeks ago, she was telling our Beth Rigby that she was happy to be unpopular. Does she no longer believe in herself?
Oh, she does, and I think the two things actually are a complementary point. They're not mutually exclusive. Look, what the Prime Minister has outlined is, look, there are difficult decisions, the things we have to do to move the economy, to change the way we're doing things. All change can have disruption, and this is a big change in how we deal with economic policy in this country, in the sense that although we will obviously ensure that we remain fiscally responsible, and the Chancellor's outlined that, and he's got his Auckland statement on the 23rd of November, which will set out that medium-term plan that people want to see, but also making sure we do move to a lower tax economy that can drive growth. And what the Prime Minister, I think, is rightly saying is that she does want to show people why that is the right thing to do, but she is prepared to do the difficult things. And in government, that is sometimes the job we have to do for the right reasons. And
does that stretch to capping a rise in benefit payments to average earnings rather than inflation, which would be a difference between, I suppose, 5.5% and 10%, so half as much?
Well, I think we're getting into conjecture. There is a process around this. The Department of Work and Pensions, Chloe Smith, the Secretary of State, works through that. Over the autumn, she will make some announcements around that. I'm not going to prejudge what that will be, but what I would say to people, before people get too concerned about this, is we've got a track record as a government for many years, right through COVID, and most recently in this package that the Chancellor announced, of doing everything we can to protect the most vulnerable in society. That has been a driving force for this government. We've done that consistently. I know the Prime Minister is focused on ensuring that we are still doing everything we can to protect the most vulnerable people. But as I say, the benefits structure is one that goes through a proper process. We've got to let that process happen, and the Work and Pensions Secretary will speak to that in the near future, during the autumn.
I mean, it wasn't a conjecture because I wasn't making a statement. I was asking a question. Do you think that
oh, no, I
we
appreciate
could see
that.
benefit payments?
Yeah, absolutely. But what I mean is, people are wondering about what will happen with the benefits structure and what the changes will be, if there are any, is something that goes through a proper process. The decisions around that are something the Work and Pensions team work through, and they will make an announcement through the course of the autumn. We've got to let them do that work first. What I'm saying for people, though, is the underlying principle this government has had consistently through challenges, whether it's the Ukraine war, COVID, has been to protect the most vulnerable in society. That's why we're seeing those people getting £1,200 benefit actually through the announcements that the Chancellor made just a couple of weeks ago.
Sure, but should benefits rise with inflation?
Sorry, Kay, I lost you there.
Yeah, no problem. I was just asking whether benefits, in your opinion, should rise with inflation.
Well, that's tempting me into prejudging the decisions and the discussions.
I'm asking your opinion, Justice Secretary.
No, well, it has, because the problem is when we're in the Cabinet, we all have collective responsibility. So it's not just my opinion when I'm speaking on behalf of the government. I'm going to let the Work and Pensions Secretary do her work. I do want to make sure, and I am very supportive of the work we've always done as a government, as I say, which is protecting the most vulnerable in society.
OK, given that you're a member of the Cabinet and collective responsibility, you would expect to be involved in that decision-making?
Well, I have to say, all these things tend to get discussed through Cabinet. There's a difference with market-sensitive things around a budget. That's always been the case through consistent Cabinets. But all of these things are things that go through Cabinet, yes.
OK, but then if you do decide that it needs to be with average earnings rather than inflation, then you've got those big beasts that can't be tamed, like Michael Gove and Grant Shapps again, who've already made their position clear. And the Prime Minister might find herself in another damaging U-turn. How much do you think that is in the back of her mind when she's making policy decisions now?
Well, I've got to say my experience of working with the Prime Minister is she tends to focus on what is right for the country and what is going to get the best outcome for people right across our country. Look, we do work in a parliamentary democracy. That means we have to work with Parliament. We've got to make sure that what we are doing can pass in Parliament as well. That's just a reality of a parliamentary democracy. Look, I heard a clip from what Grant was saying to you earlier, and Grant was making the point, even with welfare benefits, it's about making sure that whatever you do, you're clear about what the argument is, that you can show people why what you're doing is the right thing. As I say, with Quasi's budget as one part of that, we could have rolled the pitch better. We've been open about that. That's why we've moved that away. With the welfare system, as I say, the team at the Department of Work and Pensions and Chloe Smith, the Secretary of State, are working through that at the moment, and they will be making a statement on that this autumn.
But these are not junior MPs. These are people that were sat around the cabinet table with you until a month ago, not necessarily with Michael Gove, but certainly as far as Grant Shapps is concerned. You have to take their views and opinions into account, surely.
Well, one of the things I'm sure that the team will be doing is looking at a couple of things. One is, obviously, people are always going to be listening to what's out there. We've shown, actually, in the last few days, the Prime Minister's shown that she is listening to people. That's why she's made that change with the 45p rate. So, yes, we do listen to people, but the team at the Department of Work and Pensions have also got to work through the numbers to make sure that whatever they're proposing this autumn works for people, can deliver what people need, and, as I say, sticks by that core principle of doing what we can to support the most vulnerable in society.
There are suggestions that there is some fat to be cut out of departments in order to try to save some monies. What would that mean for your department, given that there's a massive backlog in the court system?
Well, look, I think it's something I know. Look, it's a few years ago now when I was running businesses as well. But one of the things you always do in business, and one of the things I think is right and good that we do in government, is always look at what can you do more efficiently, where can you save money, both in terms of that means there's more money saved for the Exchequer, that's good for the general public, or more money you can spend on other frontline services. So looking at how you do things more efficiently is good practice. Every business person in the country tends to do that, and certainly it's a good thing for us to do in government. I'm certainly going to be doing that in my department. For example, looking at the court processes system, yes, we've got an unacceptable backlog. That's why I want to see an end to the criminal barrister strike. We've put forward a really strong positive package, which I hope they'll accept, and we can start getting on top of that backlog. But there are other things we can do as well around how we modernise, how we use technology. We're doing some of that, for example, in making sure that for vulnerable women who are involved in rape and sexual violence cases do not necessarily need to be in court. They can use technology and record their evidence separately. We're seeing with prisoners, rather than spending money always moving them between prisons and courts, we're spending money to put technology in so that they can give evidence from a secure room in prison as well. So there's a whole range of things we can do, and I will always be looking at how we do things more efficiently and effectively. That's part of my duty to the public and the people of Great Britain. It's keeping them safe and doing it efficiently.
Let's end where we started. Just to clarify, you see a U-turn as a position of strength rather than weakness, despite a quote from a certain lady 40 years ago that still resonates today.
Well, she's a great lady, and I was very fortunate. She was the Vice-Chancellor of my university and gave me my degree. Look, the reality is I think what's good is that the Prime Minister feels strong enough and confident enough to have listened to people, to make a decision, to be able to move on and focus on this huge package of support we're putting in for people that will give not just tax cuts to 30 million people, but give that extra protection around energy prices and inflation to the most vulnerable people in our country. So
U-turns are not a weakness?
Look, I think sometimes when you're developing policy and delivering policy, you've got to listen to people. I think generally people criticise politicians for not listening. You've got a Prime Minister who has listened and the Chancellor has listened and they've acted.
OK. It's great to talk to you as always. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Much appreciated. Thank you.